Hi guys, today we are going to discuss about the emergency provision in the constitution that comes in part 18 from article 352 to 360. So three emergencies are being discussed there. First one is national emergency, second one is president's rule or state emergency, third one is financial emergency. So these three emergencies are being proclaimed in three different situations, depends upon the need of the hour. So we know that in the Indian constitution there is a provision called ordinance power of president also, ordinance power of governor also. So ordinance power of president is for the union, ordinance power of the governor for the state normally. So when this ordinance power is there with the executive, we know that the executive, president and the governor, they issue the ordinance. So executive has the ordinance power or executive is getting the legislative power. In normal situation, legislation or law making is the business of legislature. That means parliament or Vidhan Sabha. So legislation is their job. But whenever there is some abnormal situation, the executive are vested with the power of ordinance issuing, or they can bring the temporary legislation to handle the situation. Similarly, in Indian constitution, there is provision for emergency in order to handle some abnormal situation. So one difference with the ordinance, this emergency is, in the case of ordinance, in the same polity, that means if it is central government, if it is state government, within the same polity system, the doctrine of separation of power is being overridden by the need of the hour in abnormal situation. But in the case of emergency provision, the doctrine of division of power is between the center and the state. So doctrine of division of power is being overridden in the case of emergency situation, or in simple layman language we can say the normal federal system will be converted into or might be converted into a unitary type of system, or India will reflect more unitarian characteristics at that time than the federal characteristics. Okay, so let's come back to the topic. In emergency, whenever there is an abnormal situation in emergency, in order to meet that, central government will be having more power, even in the legislative sphere also, executive sphere also. Why the central government is vested with such a power means, because in constitution we have given utmost importance for the sovereignty, unity, integrity and security of the country. So in order to protect this and the democratic political system in our country, central government has vested with some great powers. That is what is this emergency. So three emergencies are being discussed here. First one is article 352, national emergency. So when this national emergency is being declared, so the causes are being given here. It may be war, it may be external aggression, it may be armed rebellion. Three causes. Article 352, national emergency, proclamation of national emergency. Article 356 comes whenever there is a constitutional breakdown happens in the state, or the state administration is not able to carry it out as per the constitutional provisions. Third one is financial emergency, article 360. Whenever there is a financial stability or credit of India is threatened, central government will resort to financial emergency. So the first one we are discussing here, that is article 352, national emergency. So who is issuing? See, whenever we are studying this emergency, three emergencies, some keywords you need to remember, some keywords you need to focus. First one is, who is issuing this particular emergency? Which constitutional article discuss that? What is its legislature? What is the role of legislature in that? What is the lifetime of particular emergency, that particular emergency order? What is the life of that? Who can revoke that? And what is the impact of bringing such a emergency? So what kind of impact we are going to face, even in the center state relation also, even in the fundamental rights perspective also, or anything else. So here, article 352, national emergency, let's speed it up. First one, Who is proclaiming that? President is proclaiming that. What are the grounds of proclamation? 3 grounds: war, external aggression, armed rebellion. So war and external aggression, those 2 grounds, emergency declaration, we consider it as external emergency. If it is on the ground of armed rebellion, we call it as internal emergency, because armed rebellion, we know there is Naxalite incidents, there is internal terrorism incidents, internal Maoist movement incidents. So those kind of situations actually we consider as an internal emergency, but at the same time war or external aggression is considered as an external emergency. And keep in mind, 2 combination is possible. One is actual occurrence of that, second one is imminent danger of that. That means even before the occurrence of war itself, emergency, national emergency on the ground of war can be proclaimed by the president. Now next one, what is the role of legislature or the parliament? See, in the case of emergency powers, there is no role with the state government or state legislature. It is only rest with the central government. So emergency proclamation, emergency power is only with the president. Governor is not enjoying any emergency powers. And whenever the emergency is imposed, central government is becoming more and more powerful rather than the state government. So keep that in mind. Now, so what is the role of parliament in the case of Article 352 National Emergency Proclamation? See, once the president proclaimed that emergency, within 1 month of time, parliament in the sense each house of the parliament, Lok Sabha also, Rajya Sabha also needs to give approval, needs to pass that with a particular kind of majority, that is sometimes known as special majority. That means majority of the members of the house plus 2/3 of the members present and voting. So the parliament with this kind of majority needs to approve that, then only it can continue. This national emergency can continue. How long it can continue? It can continue up to 6 months. So every 6 months, a continuing resolution or as a resolution for the continuance of the proclamation of the emergency need to be done. Otherwise, that particular emergency order is ceased to exist. So 6 months is the normal validity, but it can be extended to indefinite period of time by periodic approvals. Okay, but keep in mind, we know that the Lok Sabha is a temporary house. That means normally 5 years, or whenever the government loses its confidence of the house can be loses the confidence of the house, or loses of, and then the government may be toppled, no one else able to form the government. In those kind of situations, the house may be dissolved. So if the Lok Sabha is dissolved or its tenure over, there may be situation like Lok Sabha not existing at that time, because Lok Sabha is a temporary house. So in that condition, national emergency, if it needs to be continued, what is the option there? In that, Rajya Sabha within this 1 month duration should give approval, and it can continue. Whenever the Lok Sabha is reassembled, within 30 days of time, it should get the approval of the Lok Sabha. Otherwise, it will be ceased to exist. Okay. Now next, revocation of emergency. Who can revoke the emergency? President can revoke the emergency. So the proclamation of emergency, revocation means cancelling, withdrawing of emergency is by the president. Sometimes president, after issuing the proclamation, later president himself can revoke that. Means when the central government council of ministers give the advice to revoke that, president will do. Now, next situation. See, second situation is the power with the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is empowered here. What is this? But the president must revoke the proclamation if the Lok Sabha passes a resolution disapproving its continuation. Means its continuation is disapproved by the Lok Sabha by simple majority. So, in order to approve national emergency, it needs special majority. Here, in order to disapprove that, simple majority means more than 50% of the members present and voting. So in that case, disapproval happened, so president is bound to revoke that. If the house is in session, if the house is not in session, that is what is the next point says. If the house is in session, if quorum of the members means 1/10 of the members, 1/10 of the members of the house. So normally in the Lok Sabha it is 55. So when the quorum of the members give a particular request to the speaker, within 14 days of time, speaker should give actually a permission for conducting a special sitting in order to discuss that a particular revocation or particular disapproval of the continuation of the national emergency resolution. If the house is not in session, this particular quorum of the members will give that request to the president, and the president will schedule a special session. So if the house is in session, to the speaker; if the house is not in session, to the president, these members will give a request, a notice. So they are bound to hold a special session within 14 days of time. Is that okay? Next, what are the effects of the national emergency? Three perspectives we are studying the emergency effects. One is in the case of central state relation, or simply we can say what happens to the federalism. In reality, the federalism will become unitary. That is a simple explanation. Second one, what happens to the life of the Lok Sabha and the State Assembly. So Lok Sabha and the State Assembly, normally it is 5 years their tenure, but during emergency time it can be extended. Effect on the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights will be restricted. So easily you can keep in mind like this: effect on national emergency, center state relation, federal will become unitary, Lok Sabha State Assembly tenure can be extended. Effect on fundamental rights will be restricted. So effect on center state relation. We know the center and the state relation can be studied under three groups. One is executive relation, second is legislative relation, third one is financial relation. So whatever power is there with the states during the national emergency time, they are not existing at all. We know that in the schedule 7 of Indian Constitution, three lists of subjects are there: union list, state list, concurrent list. State list is the list of subjects in that state are exclusively empowered to make laws, and the state executive can use its executive power, unbridled power, in the state list. Union has no role in the state list in the normal cases. Okay, but whenever there is national emergencies in place, this restriction disappear. That means union is empowered to legislate, to use its executive power in three list of subjects. That means union list also, state list also, concurrent list also. Financial relation also, union will be having actually at most importance and powers. It can decide what way the fund is being disbursed among them, what way it need not to be. Okay, second one, life of the Lok Sabha and the State Assembly. It can be extended beyond the normal 5 year, 1 year at a time. That means 5 can make 6, 6 can make 7, 7 plus 1, 8, like that. So a special resolution needs to be passed during the national emergency time. What are the impact on the fundamental rights? Two articles are discussing about the effect of national emergency on the fundamental rights. That is article 358 and 359. 358 discuss about restrictions on article 19, means right to freedom, 6 set of rights in that. And 359 says about the rest. 359 says about the rest of the fundamental rights. That means part 3 start from 12 to 35. In that we have fundamental rights from 14 to 32. So other than 19, the rest of the articles, restrictions during national emergency is discussed in article 359. Keep in mind, prelims, this question is expected. Article 358, 359 can be asked, could be asked. So very careful about that. Let's look into more detail of that. So article 19 restriction are being mentioned in 358. It says that whenever the national emergency is declared on the ground of war or external aggression, simply external emergency, article 19 is automatically suspended. So fundamental right article 19 is automatically suspended during national emergency on the ground of war or external aggression. So there is no separate order required for that. So whenever the emergency ceases to exist, article 19 is automatically revives. Is that okay? Now at the time of article 359, see, it says about the rest of the fundamental rights. Here the restriction is the fundamental rights itself is not suspended, but at the same time, the right to move the court for its enforcement is suspended. That means you are enjoying the fundamental rights, but you cannot approach the court for its enforcement. We know under Article 332, writ jurisdiction is there. Writ jurisdiction says about whenever the fundamental right is violated, you can approach the Supreme Court for issuing 5 set of writs. So that enforcement is being restricted under Article 359. Now, see here, there is some crucial difference with Article 358, that is Article 358, there is no special order is required for suspension of the fundamental rights under Article 39. But at the same time, Article 359, you need special order. In that order, what all will be explained, what all will be mentioned. First one, what all fundamental rights or which article, which fundamental right are being, which fundamental is being restricted, or what all enforcement is being restricted will be listed there. Second one, how long that issue is there, how long that restriction is there can be listed there. The difference is Article 358, whenever the emergency is imposed, Article 19 gone. Whenever emergency is stopped, it comes, not before that. At the same time, Article 359, suppose the emergency is imposed for 6 months. Okay, this fundamental right restriction under Article 22 maybe for 3 months, maybe for 2 months. So like that, it could be for shorter period. That is the last point. The suspension could be for the period during the operation of the emergency, or for a shorter time that is mentioned in the order. Now, next emergency, that is Article 356, President's Rule or State Emergency. Here 3 articles you can see. One is Article 355, 356, 365. 355 is very important because 355 imposes the duty on the sender to ensure the government of every state is carried in accordance with the provision of the Constitution. So the central government is entrusted with the job of ensuring the states are working as per the Constitution. 356 says the President can issue a proclamation if he is satisfied that a situation has arisen in which government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Here, in order to decide that, President may ask a report to the Governor. So with the report of the Governor or without the report of the Governor, President can issue a proclamation for taking over the power of the state. Keep in mind, the word emergency is missing in Article 356. Or if you hear the word Proclamation of Emergency, that means Article 352. 356, the word emergency is missing there. Now let's come to the Article 365. So 365 is out of Part 18, but keep in mind 365. 365 says that whenever a state fails to comply with or to give effect to a direction from the central government, it will be lawful for the President to hold that situation has arisen in which government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. So that means Constitution needs to be adhered with. Constitutional provisions. See, constitutionally, central government is empowered to give many advices, many orders to the state government, executive power. So the state government must comply with that. Otherwise, this can be a reason for enforcing Article 356. Is that okay? Is that okay? Now come to the next one. So what is the parliamentary procedure in related to the 356? See, 352 we can remember. So special majority in the parliament is required. Within 1 month, 6 months is the validity. Now comes to the Article 356 or President's Rule. Here 2 months time is there. So parliamentary approval is required within 2 months. Once it is approved, 6 months is the validity. The rest of the point is equally same, ditto, same as Article 352, means whenever the Lok Sabha is not there, within this 2 months of time, Rajya Sabha should give approval. So whenever the Lok Sabha is reassembled, within 30 days, Lok Sabha should give approval. Okay, suppose both the houses are approved. So the proclamation of a state emergency or president's rule is approved by the houses, parliamentary houses. Keep in mind, legislature has no role in that. 6 months is the validity. 6 months is the duration of that. Now suppose again a continuing resolution is passed. It is continuing maximum 1 year. Beyond 1 year, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How long? 3 years. Now the next difference between Article 352 and Article 356 is 352 can be extended to an indefinite period of time by continuing a resolution, continuously passing a resolution 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. At the same time, 356, that is not possible. The maximum possible, continuously possible is 356. In that also, beyond 1 year, we need a special provisions for handling that. So beyond 1 year, 2 conditions needs to be met. Then only Parliament can take up a continuing resolution for continuing the emergency in that particular state. What are that? One is national emergency must be in operation in some part of the country, in some part of the state. National emergency must be in operation. Second one, election commission must certify that the general election to that legislative assembly in that particular state is not possible in that circumstances. So these two important certificates these two important conditions are must in order to continue the proclamation of emergency, Article 356 in that state beyond 1 year. Is that okay? So we have seen Article 356, President's rule of state emergency. In order to continue it beyond 1 year, we have 2 conditions. If it is met, again 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, they can continue up to 3 years time. Now, what are the consequences of President's rule? Keep in mind, center-state relation or federalism kind of, there is a change. Fundamental rights, there is no change. Or Article 356 imposing not harm the fundamental rights of the citizen in any way. Article 352, at the same time, fundamental rights are restricted in different scales. Is that okay? Now, what are the consequences of the President's rule in the state? One is, see, whatever the executive relation between the union and the state completely change, it become union, or union can take over the executive power of the state, and union may suspend the legislative assembly of the state and take over the legislative power by the parliament. Okay, so parliament directly or through president or any subordinate authority, the legislation work of that particular state, executive activity of that particular state will be continued. Now the last one, Article 360, financial emergency. It is very simple one. Whenever the financial stability of the country is threatened, there can be financial emergency proclamation. Who proclaim that? Presidents that. Within what time it should get approval? Within 2 months time it should get approval. See, Article 356 also, Article 360 also, in order to get the parliamentary approval, simple majority is sufficient. At the same time, Article 352, special majority is required. Is that okay? Now, there is a difference in Article 360. What is that? Once it is approved, it continues indefinitely. At the same time, 352 and 356, how it is? In the case of 352, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, indefinite period of time. 356, 6 months, 6 months, after 1 year, two conditions, then 6 months, 6 months up to 3 years. So maximum 3 years. In the case of financial emergency, you can continue it indefinitely once it is approved. What are the effects? So financial relation, whatever the powers are rested with the states will be taken over by the union. That means even the money bill needs union approval. Even the budget needs union approval. Any grant, any amount the union spending on the state, union spending on the state can be controlled, can be curtailed, and it continues during that particular financial year, even though the emergency is revoked. So here also, in financial emergency also, president can revoke by a subsequent proclamation. Is that okay? See, one more point is there. See, the salaries of any post, anyone working under the government, either constitutional post or any other public services, it can be curtailed, it can be controlled during the financial emergency. We know that normally that is not possible. For example, judges, high court also, supreme court also, president, vice president, these post salary cannot be touched by the parliament in the normal circumstances, but whenever there is financial emergency, it is possible. So that's it. Article 352, 56, 60. I believe you have understood it all. Any doubt is there, ask me. So part 18, Indian Constitution, emergency provision is very important one. So who proclaimed that? President proclaimed that. Who revoked that? President revoked that. Only in the case of national emergency, there is a provision for Lok Sabha can ask the president to revoke that. 356, 360, nothing is there. Okay, thank you.